What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Cjthecheesedj here, back with another ARK Insight video. I promise you today we're doing ARK Insight, not another Horizon Zero Dawn surprise. So today we're looking at the Wooly Rhino and the Woolly Mammoth. You can see them behind me, two behemoths of the herbivore world. Now these guys are ginormous. I definitely wouldn't want to get rammed by one of these guys, either of them. In fact, just imagine getting like enveloped in one of those tusks. They just spike you to death. Imagine the mammoth flipping a car with his tusks. They're like forklifts. You could probably wedge stuff in between them and lift stuff up. Anyway, we're getting distracted. So, as per usual, if you guys are a fan of this channel, we go through each of their stats, which one's better, yada yada, battle at the end, who's got better health, weight, movement speed, stamina, all that sort of stuff. So, we're going to start off the video by, of course, saying thank you. Oh my god, that's a Wooly Rhino's butt. What a way to start off the video. We're going to zoom in here just so we don't get a nice close-up of the Wooly Rhino's butt. And we're just going to say thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the support on all the videos, all the likes, all the views. Everything means a lot to me. Keep viewing the videos, guys, and I'll keep making them. Alright, so, stat-wise, let's take a look at them. So, obviously the Mammoth is going to have more health than the Wooly Rhino. I'd be surprised if it didn't. But we're going to take a look here. So, the Wooly Rhino has 500 health, sorry. My eyeballs are playing tricks on me, and I thought that was 580. So the Wooly Rhino has 500 health, 120 stamina, oxygen, food, no one really cares about, and 750 weight. Now we're going to take a look at the Mammoth now. Now, as I said, he did have more health. He also has more stamina, although he doesn't have more weight, which is surprising. So comparison between the two, the Wooly Rhino had 500 health, while the Mammoth has 850. The Wooly Rhino had 130 stamina, I believe. 120 stamina, while the Mammoth has 330. You can see that there. Oxygen, food, no one cares. Now, the Mammoth has 500 weight, while the Wooly Rhino has 700 weight. 750 weight, which is pretty astounding if you ask me. I don't understand how he can carry more than he can. But I guess that's because the Mammoth is one of the first dinos that was on ARK. That's probably why. Now, melee damage and movement speed are the same, I believe. Yes, they are. You can see that 125.6 to 122.6 movement speed. Okay, so going through the stats quickly. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to do their stamina and speed test. Okay, so it took the Mammoth about 11.2 seconds to run the course from flag to flag. You can see there. Now, he has a base movement speed of 222.6. which is the same as the Wooly Rhinos, so his speed is already very high in terms of base movement speed for dinos. Now, his stamina, on the other hand, now, boy oh boy, that took us a very long time to get to the bottom of. So he's able to maintain stamina speed for 1 minute and 28 seconds, which is quite a lot of time if you ask me. Considering he's only got 330 stamina, you can see that we only had depleted 210. So he lasts quite a while in terms of stamina, which is pretty impressive. Alright, now we're going to jump over to the Wooly Rhino. Okay, so the Wooly Rhino's movement speed. He managed to complete the course in 7.60 seconds, which is almost half that of the Mammoths. Now, the Wooly Rhino does have the ability, the same as the Dire Bear, that his speed increases as he sprints over time. Now, you probably saw there that in the top right-hand corner kind of thing, you saw just next to his health, he's got a little red bar. Now, the Wooly Rhino also has a secondary ability that the Mammoth does not have. As he gains speed, you can see there it starts to fill up. That's pretty much kind of like a rage meter. So what that does is when you go to hit and do something, you press that button, you press his attack button, and he actually kind of gores the victim. So it does a lot of damage to other enemy dinos as well as structures. Now, his total stamina, you can see there, it's terrible. His total stamina is about 11 seconds, which isn't much in comparison to the Woolly Mammoth. So, there's big differences in between stamina and movement speed between the two. Alrighty, so their movement speed in water. Now, you can see here the Mammoth is gasping for air with his trunk, but he's actually a pretty good swimmer. I'm not going to lie, he's pretty fast in the water. Like, considering how large and bulky he is, he actually is able to move quite agile in the water. Now, you can still attack in the water, which is pretty impressive in my books. However, that's all you can do. You can just attack. It doesn't really net you anything because you can't gather underwater, obviously, with Mammoths. So, yeah, his swim speed's pretty good. Alright, Wooly Rhino's turn. Now, the Wooly Rhino, in comparison to the Mammoth, is a sloth. Yep, a giant sloth. So, you can see he's very slow and definitely don't want to take him into the water. Now, you can see he's still able to attack like the Woolly Mammoth, but he runs out of stamina incredibly fast. You can see there we're starting to drown because we have no stamina and we can't raise ourselves. So don't be surprised if the Wooly Rhino doesn't make it through the end of this video. Alrighty, so we then took a look at their turning radius. Now you can see here he's able to turn pretty sharply. His little tiny walk speed, which is pretty good. However, you're not really going to be using his walking speed that much unless you don't level up his stamina in that case, you'll definitely be using his walking speed. But his turning radius while sprinting is pretty good, especially if there's not a house in the way. That might tend to help. So just make sure you don't have any houses in your way. But you can see he's just a pain in the butt because he's got no stamina to use. Now, his turning radius is probably, I'm going to say, better than the Mammoths while sprinting. So we'll give you another demonstration here. You can see while sprinting, he's pretty good. I'm surprised at how well he's able to turn, considering how fast he manages to get. So the Mammoth's turning radius is pretty good. He's able to pivot on the point pretty well while walking, especially if you're going in the same direction. Now, while sprinting, it's a little bit different, but not much different. He actually is better than the Wooly Rhino. You can see here we're able to... It's pretty much the same as he's walking, which is rather impressive. However, he's a lot slower than the Wooly Rhino, so you've also got to take that into consideration. Now, as you know, both these dinos are harvesters. They can both harvest trees and bushes. Although I don't think the Wooly Rhino can harvest bushes. We'll be testing that shortly. So the Mammoth, he's pretty good at gathering berries. You can see here. Now, we've got the harvest multiplier set to 1. So he's able to gather quite a few berries just by that. You can see that we've got quite a few berries. Now, if we go take him up to a tree, you can see we're getting about 40-50 wood per tree, which, you know, is pretty good. He's considered one of the best wood gatherers and thatch gatherers in ARK. So, you know, you've always got that to go off. All right, we're going to take a look at the Wooly Rhino, see if he gathers berries. But I'm pretty sure he gathers thatch a lot better than the Mammoth does. So I was right, the Wooly Rhino does gather berries like the Mammoth does. However, it's slightly more effective. The Wooly Rhino manages to gather about 15 less berries than the Mammoth does. You can see there I've done some averages in my calculations box. So yeah, he's able to gather, you know, slightly less. It ranges between 10 to 15 less berries than the Mammoth. However, in terms of wood gathering, he still also gathers less than the Woolly Mammoth. However, he does gather more thatch than the Woolly Mammoth. You can see there where we just got 40-60 thatch off those 2 trees, which one was already pretty damaged bad. But you can see there he's much better at gathering thatch than the Woolly Mammoth is. So next up was their melee damage. Now you can see here we've got 2 parasaurs neatly intercrossed between each other, which is kind of strange for some reason. But you can see here, so the Wooly Rhino does a base damage of 33. Now he only has the 1 primary attack. However, like I said, he does have that ram, well, kind of ram attack. It's more of a gore attack. So what happens is he sprints and he runs into an enemy and it does a lot more damage. Now you saw there we did 33 damage to each of the parasaurs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to back our big butt out of this giant cage we've built for them and we're going to ram them. So we're going to get up to full sprinting speed. Now you can see there that red bar is charging as we sprint more. So what we'll do is we'll put up a table as well showing the comparisons of how much more melee damage the actual rage-inducing sprinting thing kind of does. You can see that we've only got a base of 125.8. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to full sprinting speed and we're going to jab them with our ginormous horn. Hopefully we reach full sprinting speed. Nope, that didn't work. But you saw there, 45 damage. All right, we're going to line this back up again and fix it up. However, before we line up the next charge, we're just going to tell you now, instead of having to put it in a table, its fully charged attack does 12.5 times the amount of its primary damage, which is an absurd amount of damage to other dinos and structures. Alrighty, and here we go. We're going for the final big ram. We're going to get to full, yep, and boom. And you saw there, 679 damage. 679 DPS while running and getting that full bar of red. That is nuts. The Wooly Rhino is probably one of the stronger dinos on ARK that, you know, everyone underestimates and doesn't bother taming because they don't think he's strong. You pump this guy's stamina up, this guy's movement speed up a little bit, and his melee damage, and you'll have yourself a powerhouse. He already has 750 weight and a base health of 500, which is already pretty impressive in terms of stats. And that 649 DPS, that's damage per second on that ram attack. That's just incredible. Alright, so next up we'll take a look at the Mammoth. Alrighty, so the Wooly Rhino does a base damage DPS, whatever you want to call it, of 52. You can see there we've got both Parasaurs and both 52s coming up. Now the Mammoth only has one attack. Technically he has two because you saw there we've got that little tusk thing going on. He's also got the stomping thing that you saw there, but they both do the same amount of damage. Now the difference between the two is that I'm pretty sure they both do knockback. This one does knockback and so does his stomping one. They both do knockback, however, I think the stomping one does more of a knockback effect. Now, as well as that, I forgot to mention for the Wooly Rhino, his attack also does a knockback effect on enemy dinos. So, yeah, so in terms of melee damage, the Mammoth wins in terms of basic DPS. However, the Wooly Rhino, like I said, is able to hit that 649 while sprinting at full speed. So you level his stamina up and you're gonna tear apart. You'd take out the Mammoth in 2 hits. Pretty much. So it's pretty incredible. Alrighty, so next up we took a look at their torpor. Now you can see from this table, the Mammoth took only 14 trank arrows from a crossbow, 10 darts from a long neck rifle, and 5 shocking trank darts from a long neck rifle. Now you're definitely going to want to use the darts because 14 trank arrows and a gigantic Mammoth coming after you is just asking for trouble. Now these were at level 50, so you've got to remember that as well. Now, the Mammoth only has a torpor rate loss of 0.6, which is pretty good in terms of torpor loss. You're definitely only going to need to worry about knocking him out and not so much keeping him knocked out. So the Wooly Rhino has slightly more torpor than the Mammoth does. It took 16 trank arrows from a crossbow to knock out, 11 trank darts, and 6 shocking trank darts, which is a slightly higher amount than the Mammoth does. However, the Wooly Rhino also has a higher torpor rate loss. He loses 1.8 torpor per second, which, you know, is almost, it's triple that of the Woolly Mammoth's torpor loss. Jeez, I'm just getting stuttered for words all over the place. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to bring a few narcotics for the Wooly Rhino, and you know, I wouldn't really worry too much about his extra trank stuff that you need to knock him out. It's not that much of a difference, just an extra trank dart, trank arrow, and shocking trank dart. You know, you don't really need to worry about it too much. Alright, next up, fight to the death. Alrighty, so they're both ready to go at each other. Now, we just have to activate the command. Now, we've unclaimed the Wooly Mammoth. Both of them are set to aggressive. So we're going to see how this goes. Now, we're going to do a quick summary while they fight it out. Hopefully, the Woolly Mammoth goes after the Rhino. Yep, there you go. You can see that. Now, the Mammoth is doing slightly more damage than the Wooly Rhino. They're both doing knockback to each other. Now, for some reason, why is the Wooly Rhino doing 50 damage to the Mammoth? That's weird. I'm pretty sure it only came up as 33. Alright, anyway. So, the Wooly Rhino you saw there was doing 50 damage. That's obviously his DPS. Now, calm down, big fella. Okay, so between the two. Now, you saw there the Woolly Mammoth has just won. Not by much. 290 health. So, the Wooly Rhino didn't actually utilize its ramming attack, which is probably why it lost. Now, recommend taming. I recommend taming probably the Wooly Rhino. The Mammoth, I'm not really much of a fan of, especially for wood gathering and berry gathering. You're not going to really need one, especially you're much better off taming a Castoroidus, one of the giant beavers, because of all the extra utility that the beaver has, the ability to reduce the carry weight and craft on its back as well. Beaver does the exact same job as the Woolly Mammoth. Now, in terms of why you should tame the Woolly Rhino, PvP purposes. No one's going to expect a Woolly Rhino to come charging out of nowhere and deal that much damage to an enemy dino. You think about it, you level up his melee damage a few levels, well, more than a few, you level up his stamina and his movement speed, you're going to easily be able to charge out any dino and do a whopping amount of damage, which, you know, they're not going to suspect it. So I definitely recommend taming the Wooly Rhino for PvP purposes. Now, you saw he lost, poor little guy. He did do 50 damage. I don't know why it was coming up as 33 on the Parasaurs. The stats weren't changed or anything, but it looks like 50 was his main DPS for some reason. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, alrighty, guys. Well, that'll be the end of this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know if you'd like to see any particular dinos against each other. I have more ARK battle videos coming up later on. But for now, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.